Wammo Breakfast. Time now, 25 minutes away from 10.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The Geek Show.
Yes, it is The Geek Show. Joining me from The Geek Show today, it's been a few weeks with Ms. Behaviour over in the Mahawk Studios in Wellington City. G'day, Ms. B.
Good morning, Wammo.
Good morning. Today we're talking about gamification, which is one of these terms that advertising types and social media gurus have been throwing around for a wee while now, but I'm sure there's more to it than they explained. What is gamification?
Well, gamification is the concept that you can apply the basic elements of gaming that make things fun and engaging and make people want to continue playing to areas that it wouldn't normally be expected to be applied to, such as education, getting people to change their health patterns, and also in the workplace.
Okay.
So it's...
Yeah, and we often see it applied to advertising campaigns as well, don't we? Like, things that are tied into Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. There's lots of loyalty programs and lots of marketing and advertising people are now sort of looking at this area to drive people to purchase goods and, collect things. But it does have wider applications. The area that I'm interested in is education. Ways of getting people to learn through play, not just as kids, but as adults as well. Yeah,
okay. Well, what are some, what are some examples about how this works?
Okay. Well, I started out in gaming years ago, so, things have changed a lot. It was 30 years ago I played my first games on my BBC Micro.
Yeah.
And the graphics have changed, but the actual underlying principles are pretty much the same as they were back in the days of Space Invaders and Pong and Pac-Man. But the core principles are such as a clear objective, so you have to know what the end result is going to be.
Yeah.
A sense of progression throughout your adventure or your journey. A clear pathway to your goals, and then different rewards such as badges, points, or leaderboards, so you can compare your progress against other people's.
Okay.
And there's a couple that the Zynga, the company that's behind Farmville, which bizarrely enough is the second largest farm game in the world.
Oh, it's the second largest. It's the one that we hear of from the most.
Yeah, there's one called Happyville, I think, which is even bigger.
Huh.
I don't play these games. I'm not into gaming on Facebook at all.
Yeah, neither.
But what the people, Zynga, the company behind Farmville, think as well, is they say that games should be accessible to everyone, anywhere and any time. Games should be social. Games should be free. They should be data-driven, and they should do good. And I like that last point about the fact that you can actually do good with your game playing. So there can be a social objective. There can be a concept of, social entrepreneurialism behind it. And also the point that they believe, and their model's quite smart, in that they make the game itself free, but the virtual assets that you buy in the game world, they charge for.
Yeah.
And they're making a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating as well, that there's I was just looking on one of the Gameification wiki down the side at the jobs, and one of them was a virtual goods maven, that people, someone's actually advertising for someone to manage virtual goods. So, it's quite a fascinating space, really.
It is amazing when that spills over from the virtual world into the real world, isn't it? And in fact, real currency is being exchanged.
That's right. There are actually currency trading systems from some of the large multi-user, massive multi-playing gaming spaces now. But there's also, looking underneath at the mechanics, like game mechanics, I think it's quite fascinating because just basically, this is from Gameification.org, which is a wiki that tells you lots about this space. And each game mechanic is characterized by 3 attributes. So the type of mechanic, the boosts or the benefits that you get, and then personality types. I find this fascinating because they've categorized game players into 4 different personality types. So you've got the explorers, you've got the achievers, you've got the socializers, and then the killers.
Right.
And they even overlay them onto suits of cards. So the explorers are a spade because they like to dig around, and the achievers are a diamond because they like to collect things. Socializers are their hearts because they like to hang out either with and interact either with other gamers or with in-game characters. And then the killers, obviously are clubs.
Very, very cool.
And then you've got other boosts as well. So the 3 game mechanic types, you can go into a lot more detail on this, but the basic ones are progression, feedback, and behavioural. And then the boosts, the rewards that you can give to people are things like engagement, loyalty, time spent, influence, fun, SEO, UGC, which I don't even know what that means, and virality. But it's fascinating because as soon as you scratch beneath the surface and look at the mechanics that underlie a lot of the principles of gaming, you can start to overlay it into real life. And just looking down the game mechanics page on the Gameification wiki, there's some really interesting ones. One that I found quite amusing was blissful productivity. The idea that playing in a game makes you happier working hard than you would be relaxing. And these are the things that keep you playing, keep you in, keep you engaged, keep you wanting to play more.
Yeah, there's something about that's also perhaps tied in with gambling as well, that it must tickle the same part of the brain.
Absolutely. I mean, there's. I know that some of these methods do tweak your dopamine receptors. In the same way that finding information on the internet tweaks your dopamine receptors. You search, you get a reward, which is usually information or a link. There's some quite powerful psychology that comes into play with all of this.
Yeah.
And what I found fascinating, there was a great infographic from a guy called Rob Beeson, which shows, overlaid onto a brain, which parts of the gamer's brain get engaged through game mechanics. And different parts of your brain are switched on while you're playing a game according to the type of gameplay that you're going through, which I think is quite fascinating.
It's amazing when you look at these games that a lot of them, the mechanics of them are actually so simple, and it is the simple games that do seem to grip people and play on all those characteristics that you've just been talking about, rather than the big, elaborate, deep, complicated games and systems. That's probably why a game like Bejeweled or Tetris is so enduring and so popular.
Tetris. I adore Tetris. I can't have it on any machines in the house anymore because I have to admit I'm a little bit of a Tetris addict.
Yeah.
Haven't played it for some time, but I remember in late 90s I went to Thailand for a break, and I took a Tetris game on a little keyring with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever I was bored or, just hanging out somewhere, out it came.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, and that's the thing. It's very, very powerful stuff. And the thing is that like you said, the underlying principles are very simple, so they're not hard to get your head around. And I think, for things like learning and education and playful exploration and this space, I think this is a really powerful tool. I mean, there's lots and lots of applications, not just with the gaming area or with advertising or marketing, but just life. So there's lots of gamification platforms out there now. You've got companies like Bunchball, Gamify, Badgeville, which all provide mechanisms for you to add these principles into your own websites. And there's also a open source one that I found, which is called User Infuser. So that's quite interesting, and it just, it provides all of these things such as leaderboards and badges and, these elements that keep people engaged and keep people wanting to play. But, going back to sort of old school days of gaming, one of the sites that I absolutely love, and this is sort of, going right back to basics with board games and card games, because if you think about it, games have been played for years. You've got the Chinese game Go, which is thousands of years old. Card games have been around since Egyptian times. I've always quite fancied the idea of making a board game or a card game. I've got a few ideas, and I'm a big fan of print on demand and self-publishing systems. All these new online tools, and I came across a while ago a fantastic site called thegamecrafter.com.
Okay.
And what this site does is, if you have an idea for a board game or a card game, they will actually print the board and the pieces and the cards for you. So, if you've got an idea about a snakes and ladder style game or some kind of card game, whatever it is, they will actually make all the pieces for your game and I think sell it in their marketplace.
Wow, that's great, because that has been one of the big hurdles for anyone who's got a great idea, is actually getting it physically made has been the big major deal to get over.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that's a great little site, thegamecrafter.com. So if you've got a real world game, not virtual, in your head, then go and have a look at it. Go and see what new games other people have designed. And, you never know, make one yourself.
Exactly. Well, that has been Ms. Behaviour on gamification, and you can find this interview as a video once more up at thegeekshow.com, 2 3s rather than 2 E's, and continue the conversation with Ms. B on Twitter perhaps as well, twitter.com/Ms. Behaviour. Thanks, Ms. B. See you next time.
Cheers, Wammo.